Hey everybody, we are going to talk about the photo merge feature in this video, but if you already know about the photo merge feature, please watch this because it hasn't gotten a whole lot of play or press when it comes to the CS3 upgrade because it's not a new feature. It's just, I gotta tell you this, photo merge works so much better with Photoshop CS3, and you're going to be amazed when you see it because all the little things that you used to have to do all the time when you took your panoramas, well, you don't really have to do all of them anymore. So let's take a look at an example here. Here's a photo that I took in Tokyo, Japan. And if you look through it, I've circled some areas across here. This was stitched together. It was a pano, and I actually shut all the lights off in my room, did all the right things, went into manual mode, turned off auto white balance, turned off auto exposure, was on a tripod, shot vertical, all those good things. And I turned off all the lights and shot this from my room, and it came out okay. Alright, but if you look at the circled areas here, first we've got this one area down at the left bottom here, and you can see how things didn't stitch together all that well here. You can also see some pretty big color differences. Over here you can see a seam that runs straight through this area of the photo. As you get over here, you can kind of see another seam. You can see a big seam over in this part over here. And then as I scroll over here, you can start to see some color differences here. And you can see that there is a seam here, but there's also a pretty big kind of area where it didn't stitch together that well. It didn't stitch the buildings together. Okay, so this was done with Photoshop CS2. Alright, so I created the pano and I saved it just so I could show you here. Now what I'm going to do is take those same exact photos and go down to File, Automate, go down to Photo Merge. And inside Photo Merge, I'm going to load the photos for that pano. Okay, so here we are, all these Tokyo photos. I'll click on Open, and I'm just going to leave it set to Auto Layout. Alright, and then click OK. And you can see here it's going to start stitching together the photos, and it really just takes a couple of seconds here, and that depends on what you're stitching. So what I usually do when I'm at least experimenting with the pano, just to see how I like it, I'll save them all out as JPEGs, and then I'll stitch them together. Now you could very easily do this with raw files as well, but it just takes a lot longer. And then just to kind of get rid of all that crud on the edges here, let's just take my crop tool and crop across here. And now let's take a closer look at the photo. And if you can kind of just remember some of those areas, remember over here on the building it didn't stitch together well. Well, it did now. Remember those seams that we saw over here? I don't see them anymore. Alright, they're gone. And you can't really see it. You can see a little bit of a color shift over here, but that's nothing compared to those seams that we had right in the middle of our photo here. And then as we get over here, now we still do have kind of a color shift between here and here. However, it stitched together a whole lot better. Okay, now we don't have that building that didn't stitch together well, so I could very easily come in here and maybe use, say even something as simple as the burn tool and just darken this area of the building up. Okay, and let me jump back over to that other image, and you can take one more look at it just to see. Look at all this. I don't even know what else to call it besides crud, but all these seams that you see throughout the pano. Okay, so that's doing things the right way. That's getting on the tripod, switching over into manual mode, turning off auto white balance, auto exposure, all those things. And this is basically the difference that I have between the two. Now, what I want to show you, what's even better about the new photo merge is I'm going to go to File, Automate, Photo Merge, and I want to show you a photo that I did nothing with. A photo that I sat on the ground. I didn't switch to manual mode. I didn't go to turn off auto white balance. I didn't do any of that. I just sat on the ground. I was on aperture priority, and I just kind of panned across. Alright, so here's the photos. And this was taken up in Banff National Park. And when I click OK, it's going to start to stitch together the photos here. But the whole purpose of this is to just show you that with the new photo merge, it's great if you do this the right way and switch to manual mode. Make sure you switch. You still want to try to hold your camera vertically. You want to shoot vertically, but if you don't always switch to manual mode, if you don't lock in that exposure the first time and use the same exposure across and all those other things that you're supposed to do, you could still get a pretty darn good pano. Alright, so it's blending the layers here. It's almost done. In fact, I'll see if I can just talk through it. There we go. And just to get rid of all that stuff on the side, let me go in here and crop it. Alright, and take a look at it. Seriously, look at that. Nothing done to this. Alright, I was on aperture priority mode, auto white balance, as auto as you can get with your photos. That's what I was doing here. And I just sat down on the ground and I just panned across the photo, and this is what I got. Alright, pretty darn cool when you think about it. That's really, it's the new photo merge technology. It's that auto blending technology that's inside of Photoshop CS3. So it didn't get a whole lot of press when the upgrade to CS3 was announced. You saw auto blend, but most people saw that being used with trying to line up maybe two different scenes with a lot of people in it, and Photoshop would line those scenes up for you. But instead, that same auto blend technology is being used inside of your photo merge dialog as well, and it creates some very, very cool panos in the end. So get out there, try it out. It's easier than you think. Take those panos, bring them into Photoshop, stitch them together, and you'll have some very, very cool shots.